We'll get started. Thank you all for being here. Really appreciate your coming to this information session. We thought we would do this on Zoom to be time efficient, appreciating your time as well as our own, and make sure that we get the information that you need to know about the Wilson Grants and the Visual and Performing Arts and the application process. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Cal Fuller, and I'm the chair of the Visual and Performing Arts. It's a wonderful department, and I have several fantastic colleagues here with me, Catherine Hollyfield and Katie Zweika-Brockman and Jordan Frederick. I appreciate you all being here, and I'm sure you'll hear something from them later on. I just want to say, as you probably know, that the Wilson Grants are an amazing gift that offer our students the opportunity for intensive study in the summer. And in addition to that, they are amazing experiences for personal growth for art students, but also help to broaden and deepen their understanding of the arts in a way that they can bring back to campus and share with others. So it's an amazing gift that we have an opportunity to take advantage of, and we want to help you in that process of choosing a program that's right for you or a trip, and help you with the application process. Let's see. We've asked some veterans to come along too, so we'll include them in just a minute whenever we see that they're here, and about their experiences. First of all, I'm going to ask Catherine Hollyfield, who teaches in the art department, if she would tell us a little bit about the application process.
Yes, absolutely. So the application has been updated. Katie and Cal worked on that yesterday, and it is live online. If you go to the main website, you can go to academics and down to the Wilson Grants and click on Visual and Performing Arts, and you will find the application. There you will download the application and print it off. You will need to have a teacher sign it, probably your current teacher. You will need your GPA and a written statement about why you are wanting to go on this trip or experience. And we recommend that you contact your current teacher for some ideas and some direction. However, we found that some of our best experiences have come from students, doing some research and finding some programs that really excite them and interest them. So it's not limited to what, the visual arts has a list of ideas and places we've had success with in the past, but it absolutely is not limited to that. And we encourage you to talk to your teachers about that once you've taken a look at the application. So I think that's, you all want to add anything else to that? It is due January 9th.
The only thing is, on the back of the application, it'll ask for what program you're going to. And we know some programs, the timeline doesn't always work out with January 9th, that you may not know if it's in yet, but you do the best you can with the information you have at that time. And know there's some flexibility if things change. You just have to keep us in the loop.
I think we're ready.
Programs are competitive, so if you are applying to a program, doesn't necessarily, if it's at a major university, for instance, doesn't assure that you'll get in. So you kind of need to have a backup plan. That we are flexible in that way, so if you have one plan and it doesn't turn out to be quite that, quite often the grant can be applied. Most of the time, the grant can be applied to a different program that's similar. So don't let that deter you. But it does mean applying to your program early is a really good idea because they fill up fast.
I think we're ready to hear from some students if you're here.
Yeah, I know Matthew Mcminn is here, and he received a Music Wilson grant this past summer. So Matthew, if you want to tell us a little bit about your experience and kind of what you did.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Matthew Mcminn. I'm a senior. This past summer, I got a Wilson grant to NYU. and it was for their summer songwriters workshop. So I went with Charlie Murph, another senior, and we went for 2 weeks. We stayed in the NYU dorms and we just worked on songwriting. And it was great because everybody there shared similar interests that we had. So not only did we get to improve our songwriting skills, but we got to meet a lot of people who shared similar interests. And outside of music, I mean, it was great. We got to explore the city. We went to Katz's Deli, Chinatown, Little Italy. I mean, we just everywhere, all over Lower Manhattan, because we had a lot of time outside the camp. So that was great. And because we stayed in dorms, I got to see what life in college is like. Because the program only lasted for like 4 or 5 hours a day. So outside of that, it was basically just like being in college. And that was very valuable knowledge and experience to have. So yeah, I would definitely recommend. That was a grant that Charlie and I researched that was not provided on the list. So I would definitely recommend doing that, finding something you're particularly interested in, because not everything on that list might, appeal to your specific interests. So it was great. And yeah.
Thank you, Matthew. That was great. That's very helpful. The first-hand account is the best.
And then Austin Kunath, if you could introduce.
So my name's Austin Kunoff. I'm a junior at MBA, and I got to go to Georgia Tech for their summer architecture program. And it was really nice to be able to go to Georgia Tech just because it's just a free way to learn how to be or learn the experience of being in college. And I mean, just about the program itself, it was 2 weeks and we stayed on campus. And during those 2 weeks, we visited it's right outside Atlanta, so we got to visit the city and we got to visit some architecture firms that were around there. So it's just altogether just an amazing experience. And other than that, we just learned tons of new just skills that I would need because I want to pursue architecture in college. It just provided me with skills that I could use and just perfect this year in my senior or my junior year, just brainstorming and how to build just architectural models and just tons of stuff that I would never have gotten without it. And like Matthew said, mine was also not on the list of what they gave as options, which I think is the best way to do it, just because you get to find what fits you personally, and you can find the best fit. Like for me, we were able to look at all these colleges that had architecture, and we found Georgia Tech, and we knew that I wanted to go to school somewhere in the Southeast. So it kind of just checked all the boxes that I wanted, and it was just a great experience overall.
Thank you.
That was
I
great.
saw Alex. Alex hopped on.
Yeah, I'm going to call on Alex in just a second. A couple of things Austin highlighted that were awesome. One is that you get to know what life is like on a college campus. I think that's terrific. I mean, a good experience for you and a way to anticipate what that might be like. You should know too, parents especially, this may interest you. Most colleges, part of the reason they're doing these programs is because they attract students and potential students that might come to the school later on. And so it is a marketing tool for them. That also means you're making contact with that particular school. So if it is a school that you're thinking about applying to later on, those contact points that go into your, how your application is evaluated are a very interesting thing that I didn't know about until my son went through that same process, and they kept talking about contact points. I said, what are contact points? times you were on campus or you made contact with somebody, at the school means you have a high level of interest in that particular school. It's a nice part of a sort of pre-college admission process before you're actually doing that, as well as getting experience on that campus. Thank you. Alex, would you talk to us briefly both about your Vermont film program that you did, and also then we haven't really introduced the cultural history trip, but you could do that for us and we can follow up in any way.
Yeah, definitely. So bear with me for my connection here because it's been rough. But no, so I've had the pleasure of going on two Wilson grants during my high school tenure. And my first one was I went to Burlington, Vermont for 3 weeks to sort of envelop myself in film classes and then having the opportunity to write, direct, and edit my own films and to work on other people's films. And that was amazing. I was incredible. And like, I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to do that because like I've loved film ever since I was like 5. I mean, when people were, I don't know, caring about sports and stuff, I was like talking to my friends about Steven Spielberg. Like, so it was amazing to just go on this trip and have the opportunity to just do something creatively that I've always wanted to do. And yeah, and then the cultural history trip. I mean, as soon as I saw this trip, I was like, I have to go on this. Like it fit kind of like what Austin was saying. I mean, for me, like the Northeast is just such a place that's so important to me. My mom, my dad are from New York. And so I was like, I have to go to this place. And it was unbelievable. I mean, we went to Boston and then New York and then Philadelphia and just did every amazing thing you could possibly imagine. We saw multiple art museums. We went to the Met and MoMA and like in Boston, and we went to ran up the Rocky Steps and everything, and we saw I think it was 4 shows. So we saw 1776 in Boston, Hadestown in New York, the Play That Goes Wrong in New York, and Paradise Square in New York. And it was unbelievable. I mean, I've always loved theater. And so like this trip was amazing because I had the opportunity to like, really get to experience theater at the highest level. And I've always loved theater, but honestly, like I've never been much of an arts student in terms of like actual paintings and things like that. So that was such a huge part of this trip. And just like having the opportunity to see art history and like some of the most amazing paintings in the world was just incredible. And also like everybody has their own group of friends and everything. And the people that went on this group were different than my normal group of friends, but they're such an amazing group of people. And it was so much fun to just have a blast. Like everybody had an amazing time on this trip because I mean, how could you not? Like everything that we did was incredible, and the camaraderie was just electric. It was incredible. I loved every second of it. So yeah, I'm so grateful I had the opportunity to go on this trip. So yeah.
Thank you, Alex. That was great. And I think Ms. Weka Brockman and I feel the same way about that trip. I mean, the group of students that was on it. I mean, when I see these folks on campus, we just want to start talking about the trip again because it was such a terrific experience. 1776 that we saw in Boston is now in New York. It is now on Broadway, which is very cool to know, and it's getting reviewed in the New York Times and all that good stuff. So it continues to resonate for all of us, I think. So thank you for that. Anybody, those of you who came to speak about your trips, thank you for being here. You're welcome to go on with your evening. You're welcome to hang around if you want to, either one. But thank you. I think the firsthand accounts are the most helpful thing in a meeting like this, so that students who are considering it get a taste of what it's really like. That's wonderful. Thank you very much. And for the rest of you who are here because you're inquiring about the processes we head on into it for the coming year, do you have any questions? Parents as well. Yes, Ms. Weka Brockman.
Also, the firsthand experiences are on display in the Davis building through November 4th. We have a Wilson grant exhibition up now. So students who went on trips, and if you go on a trip, you document your experience and then you share a little bit about that with the community. For art students, their art's on display. For music and theater, it's images of them there. And then for the students who went on the cultural history trip, there's little snippets of their experience and then pictures from our trip. So please get a chance to the admissions preview day as well.
Excellent. Thank you for that. This year's probably, I mean, the best year in recent times for these programs too, where I doubt there's going to, well, I shouldn't say that with the way the world is, but I think everything will be in person. I'm hopeful that everything will be in person. And I'm more hopeful for it than I have been in the past. So I think, I know specifically in theater, because that's my own area, a lot of those programs have not been live for a couple of years, or they've been really trimmed down because of the issues of being in the dorms. And while I think some of them may require vaccination, it'll depend on the school. Most of these programs, I think, will be available live. The one other thing I would say, there has been a bit of a history. If you're an underclassman, like you would be a rising sophomore or freshman and sophomores particularly. We have encouraged you, if you haven't done the grant before, to potentially do something that's closer in. I mean, there are programs that are in state or even in town, but I think that things are available if you're looking further afield. So I think some people have gotten smaller grants early on in their MBA high school career, and then as juniors and seniors then applied for bigger grants that take you, to the East Coast or the West Coast, or even the Midwest in Chicago or Michigan, with the big programs that are there. But you shouldn't be discouraged for anything, and any of the teachers that are here, and as well as the other teachers in the visual and performing arts who are not, you could ask them about what schools or what areas you might want to look in. And if you have questions about theater or film, I'd be glad to entertain those. Any teachers, anything else you want to add about your particular area while we've got questions open?
I don't think so. Maybe just for music, specific music schools are so great to visit. Sort of like what Matthew was talking about, the music relationship, especially if you're going to pursue music at a very serious level in college, the relationship you have with that program and usually specific teachers is extremely important, because you're going to be spending a lot of credit hours with that one specific person, maybe on your instrument. So these are great opportunities to sort of maybe vet schools or programs you're interested in.
Any students or parents have questions?
Yeah, I've got a question. What's the average size of a grant? I mean, I'm sure it ranges, but what are the possibilities?
That's a great question. I'm trying to think historically. I think they can range from a couple of $100s to around 4,000. Is that fair to say, other teachers? Yeah, if you're staying in the dorms and it's room and board that's included in the tuition to the program, it can run 4,000, close to 5,000. Then you're taking a big chunk of the total amount we have. So it depends partially on how many people apply. Our numbers have been down in the last couple of years, but I don't know if they'll be back up, partially because COVID is less of a concern than it has been in the last couple of years.
So could you get a partial scholarship if funds are being spread around, or how does that work?
That is what we have tended to do in the past, is we try to provide some award to everyone who applies if it is a program that we've approved of, and we're signing off on them, so they are programs we approve of. But we do I think also tend to give more to the upperclassmen, because this may be their last chance to do this. So yes, but we have done partial before as well. We don't tend to do travel money, because that takes away from somebody else getting an opportunity to do something, but we do try to cover the cost of the program itself.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Good.
Also, the Wilson cultural trip, it covers all the expenses of the flight, the travel, the lodging, and the activities, and usually one meal in each city at like a signature restaurant or signature experience. But beyond that, the students have to pay for the rest of their own meals. And we tried to book hotels that had breakfast, but everything else was their own meals, and any souvenirs was on the students' families' side.
Any other questions? It was a good question about the grants and good information about the costs that are covered. I think then at this point, if there are no further questions, I'd say email one of us if you have questions specific to our areas or about the application process. If you go and look online and you have things that come up as questions as you get further into it, don't hesitate to let us know. And probably the best way is to email us, and we'll get back to you and with as much information as we have.
Mhm.
And the cultural history trip application will be up probably early next week once we get the dates a little more solidified.
Oh,
So
and
it's two different applications.
Yeah, and we didn't talk, that's usually mid-June, around the 15th of June or thereabouts for 8 days. Covers eight or 9 days, depending on when we leave. And we tend to spend a little bit longer in Boston and New York and a slightly shorter time in Philly, and then fly out of Philly, starting in Boston. So. Great. Well, thank you all for joining us. I'm glad that you're interested, and please don't hesitate to let us know if you have further questions. Thank you, Catherine, for setting up the Zoom. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And thanks to the rest of you for being here. Really appreciate it. Have a nice evening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.